Cabbage pasta, anyone? Or would you prefer potato pebbles in sour cream? Well, whichever you go for, they are somehow both called halushki. Let's investigate. Halushki. It just means dumpling in Slovak. It is something you dump into the water for boiling, and does not just mean the meat-filled pelmeni. Those delicious minced meat and diced onion pieces of explosive flavor. Oh, okay, I'm getting hungry. So, halushki, specifically brinzovi halushki, is one of the national dishes of Slovakia, also popular in Poland, Germany, Hungary and other fun places. It is basically grated potato pebbles, boiled in water, mixed with sour cream and soft sheep's cheese. Yes, it is exactly as delicious as it sounds. The cheese used is brinza cheese. White, salty, crumbly. Yes, I am describing feta cheese. There is little difference. But there is a difference. It is also used for making podplomeniki z bronzu, a popular Slavic pizza-like invention. Now, to make these potato pebbles, they have a specific tool sold in set countries. It looks like this. It's basically a grater with big holes and a slat on top that you dump dough in and slide side to side. I do not have this kind of invention, so I use my skimming tool that I just call the pelmeninator. Now, if you start thinking of starting to want to make this recipe at home and start looking up halushki on the internet, is where this gets interesting. You will much more likely be assaulted by American home cooks spamming their halushki as a cabbage pasta recipe. Somewhere over the years of immigration and recipe blending across generations, the American person has adopted the cabbage pasta recipe as the default halushki recipe. Why? But never fear, Boris is here with the default, the correct recipe for halushki this side of the lake. On the east side, on the right side. Actually, I have a plan. I will make both of these recipes and decide which one gets to be top number one and which one will remain in the shadows. So let's start with version number one, Western edition. Now, I will admit, pasta is definitely not one of the first things that comes to mind when I'm thinking of mixing something into fried cabbage, and especially egg noodles, which this recipe does demand. Cabbage here goes with potato, maybe even rice, but most of all, cabbage just goes with meat. And so as to not blow all my budget for this video on buying store-bought egg noodles, I will make my own. The recipe simply is 100 grams of all-purpose flour, as they say, mixed with 1 egg. Multiply those amounts by however much pasta you need, and there you go. You just saved yourself a trip to store. The correct way of mixing pasta is however you feel like it. Dough mixer, by hand, by washing machine, I don't care. You mix long enough, it will be mixed. Mix it in smaller batches if you like. Save some of that upper body strength for arm wrestling the locals at the pub later. Once there is no white spots of flour or yellow spots of egg anymore in the dough, refrigerate and let the dough calm down and solidify just a bit until you work on the cabbage. Now this is where the recipe goes from spaghetti western to full Wild West. Honestly, I was expecting this kind of American bacon to be much more hard to find in shop. But no, the shelves are packed. So you want to cut this bacon up into this kind of flakes. This way they cook much more evenly and they do not clump together. Slice each layer individually and you should be fine. I am used to cooking many big blocks of pork, so extracting grease from razor thin slices of pig was not really a challenge for me. Now, unless high cholesterol and high blood pressure is a hobby of yours, drain some grease from the bacon, but do keep the grease that remains on the pan. So cabbage on its own is a bit so you want to add some friends to the mix. 2 whole onions for a whole pan full of cabbage. Sounds bad, right? You do not want to make them too thick or too small. You want to make it just right like Mama Bear. Thin slices in this half-disc shape. It is a good thing that we drained all that bad grease from the bacon, because we will be eating the rest of it with a stick of butter. Okay, so it's actually not a stick, but it accidentally happens to be 100 grams, which is close enough. We do not have sticks of butter in shop, we have 200 gram blocks. 100 grams of butter, salt, onions, and let it cook on low heat. So now it finally comes to the cabbage character of the story. As always, the only limitation of the cabbage amount is the size of pan you have. No point eating whole thing if you have no chance of cooking it down gradually as time goes on. Although I will say there is an upper limit to the pasta and cabbage ratio on the pan, or should I say in the final mix. You should still be able to taste the onion within the cabbage mix, and all the pieces of cabbage should get a nice bit of that grease and butter mix. In the end, it is up to the skill set of the chef, because the cabbage always cooks down. Extract the discs of pasta dough from refrigerator and start applying favorable actions and shapes into the dough. This is where you would most likely either start using your pasta machine or just give up completely and rush to store and get some egg pasta noodle. But I will say never fear. You can make egg pasta at home with the same gear that you already have. Flatten a small piece, flatten it out even more, basically as flat as you can get with a rolling pin, slice it up into long noodle. And that is all, you just saved yourself a good amount of money. I almost fell over looking at the egg noodles price in shop. Блин, what type of monopoly do you think they have? It's just egg and flour. Now take your strips of dough and egg, essentially pancake without the milk, and boil in well salted water. The other good thing about fresh homemade pasta is it cooks in like 2-3 minutes, блин. Now this, as seen on TV type of trick of keeping some pasta water and then draining all the rest, is like having airbags on old ladder. There is basically no difference, but when it comes down to it, you will feel it missing. Mix in another generous serving of butter, 50 grams, 100 grams is up to you, and mix in the noodle with the cabbage. Add back in the pasta water and the bacon, and this is about the time that you should start realizing that cabbage pasta with bits of pork might just be your next comfort food for the next few months. The smells that fill the apartment. Even the look of this mix looks delicious. Not to mention the taste. It was not what I expected. Remove the table decorations from the soup, noodle. And I was looking for something to say about this recipe when I first tried it, but nothing. No words came to mind. I was completely overwhelmed by flavor. You see, this is the problem with this recipe. It has such a nice homemade meal feeling to it that you simply do not want to comment on it. You just shut up, enjoy the hot meal, and say thank you as you leave the table. This is mother level cooking. No, babushka level. So when it comes to this recipe, I would simply call it American Polish halushki. I'm sure somewhere long ago this was done with drop noodles, giving it its dumpling name, in Poland actually known as kluski klaczone. But now it seems most people are using store-bought pasta instead. Very sad. So the least I can do is make my own pasta at home every time. But pasta aside, having done research for recipes for many years and gathering fragments of information from books and online resources, it is common to come across this kind of differences. Sometimes items get substituted, other times simplified, changed altogether, it does not matter. Online resources are great, especially if they come in their original languages. A lot of translating, retranslating, backwards translating into third languages, and sometimes the digging goes much deeper than just simple googling and asking for people for advice or article reading. Accounts, logins in strange places, along with your personal data getting spread around either accidentally or intentionally by people who get to make money from it. I know, modern day internet, it is what it is. But it does not have to be. This brings us to today's commercial break and sponsor video Incogni. Incogni is a privacy tool, and as you can see, I take my privacy very seriously. Check it easy breathing through mask every time, no. But what is easy? Signing up with Incogni, haha! So have you ever wondered how your data magically seems to reach sites before you even do? Yes, it is strange, I know, and someone could abuse that against you without you even knowing. I like hot pelmeni delivery to my home. Yes, it requires me to input my home address to some shady apps from time to time, but it does not mean I want the whole internet to have my data. Now this is where Incogni helps. Incogni sends that request to data brokers to remove your data from a lot of sites. Now this data can be something simple like a full name, but also something you don't want floating around like your health information. Compared to that, shopping habits and restaurant preferences are a small issue. Let me tell you, the longer you've been using internet all these years, the more information is probably floating around about you, whether you know it or not, whether you have submitted it or not. Either some site has taken your data that you have entered yourself, or some other site has derived something about you which is even worse, and could also be completely false. And this is where this tool makes its name. Incogni resets your internet identity, takes back your privacy, and gives you control over deciding next time what data you want to enter about yourself, if anything. It's basically an internet do-over. Incogni tracks down and removes your personal data from multiple sites, including online directories, people search sites, and commercial databases. And best of all, it is automated, and it do this repeatedly if your data might appear there again. They even have a custom removal feature where an expert contacts the site of your choosing and asks them to remove your information. It is, as you would say, an essential tool in modern browsing. Check out link in description, incogni.com/life of Boris, and use code life of Boris to get a whole 60% off the annual plan. Now that is a good deal. Stay safe, stay private. Back to the video. We continue this exploration of taste with Eastern Edition. There is many things to learn from Eastern Edition, especially the fact that they are completely different recipes, and because of inclusion of potato in recipe, it is clearly the superior version. Or is it? This is one of the few recipes I do suggest peeling the potato for much better result. But not worry, there is a recipe for everything, and even potato peel. Check my channel for more. Or top right corner, or just buy the cookbook. It is not just the before mentioned potato dough slab, without which this recipe is much harder to make. But keep in mind you also need this kind of grater. You do not want grated potato, you do not want strips. You want whatever this is. Basically consistency of paper when it comes out from the washing machine. You should attempt removing at least some of the liquid for best result. 100 gram flour. Exactly. What is going on here? What is this? Egg? Ah yes, egg going inside. 1 egg. Chicken produced from rear end of chicken. If you find it already outside of the chicken, already also good. Mix until it is mixed, and it should look like nothing you have ever seen before. Like cheese, like cottage cheese mixed with kefir. Exactly. Okay. Salt some water. Equip your scooping tool. Not for scooping, not just yet. But do keep in mind you do need holes, big holes in it. You cannot use a fine mesh sieve for it, but you can use a sieve with big holes, keep in mind. This, you see, is where this mesh comes into place. If this was regular grated potato, it would get stuck. But at this consistency, ooh, beautiful, perfect, exactly what we need. Your kitchen at this point should be smelling like nothing at all. It is boiled potato. As opposed to the thin American slices of pig from previous recipe, we take a nice thick big block of pig fat. We call this Hungarian bacon. I have no idea if it is Hungarian or if it is bacon, it is just pig fat. But it is encased in a nice thick flavor of spices and herbs. I like these pieces to be small as you can, so that when they get cooked down and the fat extracted, you end up with a beautiful rain of thin, crispy pig. The potato pebbles do not need a lot of time. 5 minutes, they're done. Use the same big spoon character with holes in it to scoop them up. Now this is brinza cheese. I will forgive you if you do not see a difference or taste a difference, but I will tell you this much, this should be much more crumbly. So for this cheese, I just slice it up and mix with sour cream. If you do have the crumbly type of cheese, it should crumble. Help it along with a fork if it does not. Ideally, you want a smooth mix. Which this is not. This is a cheese of lies, apparently. But since I'm not going to Slovakia or Hungary soon, this will do just fine. Make the pig pieces rain from the heaven, and let slicings of the green onion fall from the window sill. And enjoy. And so that is the problem, and I do mean the problem, is that these both are so good and completely uncomparable. It is like comparing Lada to Volga, bus to train, a green field of grass to a thick forest. Neither is easy to make and takes time. You can cut down time with store-bought pasta for Western edition, or you can cut down potato grating time in Eastern version by using blender. But in this case, do not be surprised if police come knocking for potato abuse. The nutty flavor from the cabbage complements the egg noodles smothered in butter and bacon grease. But what can compare to miniature potato balls drowned in sour cream and salty cheese? Nothing. They are not comparable. I am not here to judge, for I am not worthy. But I have come to say my opinion. My opinion of halushki versus halushki. If we all just got along, we would not have these problems. But if I go to friend's house and they offer me halushki, I will always be expecting the Eastern version. Unless I'm in America, in which case, bring on the cabbage!